Welcome back to Lanterne Rouge Cycling Podcast. Twas the night before Christmas. In fact, it's not. It's just the morning before Christmas here in Australia. Not even Christmas Eve in Belgium, where Benji and I, we're in different continents, but coming together for a Q&A special. We're going to cover off some things we didn't cover cycling-wise, like best breakaway riders. We've got some things to iron out there. Might disagree. We've got some business stuff. We'll tell you whether we're working with Jumbo-Visma in the future, as well as just some personal goal stuff as well. But as always, this pod is brought to you, LRCP, by Zwift, and Zwift Hub is available in the EU, North America, and the UK. And I understand, Benji, that you installed one recently firsthand. Like, be honest.
Yes, sir.
How long did it take? And like, how good are you normally at this sort of thing?
Okay, vital information, eh? The Eagle has landed. My package had arrived a few weeks ago, and it was actually pretty straightforward because normally when IKEA packages arrive, I'm the kind of person that even with like the best guide, I still struggle. Like, I'm still pretty incompetent when putting things together, but I swear the Zwift installation of the Zwift hub, I swear it took like maximum 3 minutes because it's like 2.5 steps. It's difficult to say why it's only 2.5 steps, but it's basically you get the entire thing with the cassette already on and you put the two legs on. And that's basically it. So it took me a few minutes and it worked. So I can't complain about that.
Well, yeah, because it's like if Shane Miller finds it easy, GP Lava, that doesn't help me. He's probably a master at putting these things together.
Only when an incompetent person like myself can put it together.
To people like us, get an IKEA flat pack, and we're just like, I guess we're gonna have to pay someone to put this together because I got a broken finger from a dog attack in
Not
Xavier,
again,
so,
this fucking story.
Yeah. Dude, it's a serious problem. I can't put IKEA flatbacks together. I can ride my bike and do things with my hands that I do want to do. It's convenient how that works. Anyway, that's the Zwift Hub. Go to Zwift.com to check it out through the link down below. But on to the first question. Who is the best breakaway artist in 2022? We didn't cover this in our cycling awards. I don't think. There's sort of... It doesn't matter if you're GC contender. It doesn't matter who you are. You know, it all gets... It's not theoretical. Would you be a good breakaway contender? It's who's proven it. So we've got Cort, who gets into breaks consistently. We have Leonard Kamna as well, won a Giro stage this year. Thomas de Gent won another Giro stage, but I can't put him in that list. Is there anyone else I'm missing, Benji?
I think last year we spoke about the Cort in the Vuelta and so forth, and the Mohoric during the Tour when he won those two stages, for example. Hirschi in the breakaways in 2020, but those haven't done it anymore. Mohoric wasn't really there in those breakaways. True. I feel like Cort had that stage on to that bloody climb that is not very steep in the Tour de France, Megève, and wasn't really there for the majority of the rest of the season in terms of breakaways as much. And I feel like it's come down to a few candidates, and we saw Carapaz dominate breakaways in La Vuelta. The question is, how much of that is because he wasn't good enough as a GC rider that he was able to win from breakaways with the strength that he still had? Or is there more tactical stuff to that? I'll let you respond in a second. Another rider I think of is Vine, who won the two stages in the Vuelta, but I recall one of them not being from the breakaway. And Kemna, who won on Etna. But I swear there was like, is it a Tour of the Alps stage against Tesfatsion and Amador that comes to mind, or where was that?
You are not misremembering that. You're not misremembering. He did win to Villabassa in Tour of the Alps, and that sort of indicated he was in nice shape for the start of the Giro.
And Planche.
Yeah. Moral victory on Planche. Like, it's like with Padun on Picojano, like, it's a break. It could be a break stage. You get in the break. You're the strongest in the break. You would have won from the break, but the GC guys just decide it's not your day. Pogačar had a reason for winning that day. Had UAE pace really hard. I thought it was going to be, Jumbo-Visma clearly were happy for the break to win, but Kamna, what can he do? And then he kind of, his one mistake in the break this year, I think he got caught between stage and yellow on that Megève stage, and he ended up coming fourth, I think. Carapaz is a good one. 120k break, Benji. Catalunya. Let's not forget. He
Oh
literally went in a
yeah.
120k breakaway and then
Or
mugged Igita.
well, we're saying 120k break. At what point does it become a breakaway? Because Remco Evenepoel goes solo like 60k from the finish line somehow. At what point is that a breakaway?
True. Yeah, like I don't actually know. But yeah, I'm counting that one as a break. But yeah, is Remco and Worlds a breakaway? Was it a breakaway before he attacked? Yes, but then when he attacks, it's no
Solo
longer a
break laten
break.
doet.
Yeah, he's best long range attacker, I guess. But I'm going with
Yeah.
Kemna because I don't know. It's tough between him and Carapaz, but I'm going with him. Just because Tour de France, I think he got a bit unlucky. He would have won Planche from the break in week one of the Tour. That means, top break guy. So I'm going with Kemna, but Carapaz, equally valid opinion.
I feel like there's this dynamic in the Tour de France in 2022 and also in 2021, to be honest, where it's become so much more difficult to win stages from the breakaway in those stages because GC goes for every single stage
Yep.
almost in 2022.
Pogni's bonus.
So, yeah, as a consequence, it's quite difficult actually to get a rider that won a stage in the Tour de France to win this trophy because they can't win multiple stages anymore. So Magnus Cort, the reason that he doesn't get as many stages because he focused on the Tour de France, because with that same strength, I bet he can take 2 stages at the Vuelta or something like that, or 2 stages at the Giro. But
Yep.
the schedule is what they decided. Kemna also only won that one Giro stage, but he was also in the breakaway as a breakaway artist, as a satellite rider in many stages.
True.
Does that count? Does Wout van Aert's breakaway attempts count? Not. I don't know.
Wout
I'm
gets
gonna go
deducted points for stage 6. That erases stage 6 of the Tour.
long week.
Yeah.
Kill
it. He gets deducted points for that one.
I'm going to go with Kemna as well. Because, like, it's only
It's the
one.
easy answer because we'll never see Carapaz in a break in 24, right?
Well, we don't
23.
know, eh? Depends whether he fucks up
Surely
his
they make
GC
him
or
do
not.
GC.
If he bottles it,
Yeah,
then he
true.
does stages.
Anyway, it's an interesting dynamic. It's a lot of the skill of this is being able to get in breaks efficiently. That's why I think Kemner is a really nice rider for this. He's not 58 kilos or small like Juanpe. He's not 72 kilo ruler. He's basically a fringe GC guy that's chosen to focus on this, like Thomas de Gent did. Who obviously came third in the Giro. Kemner hasn't, but Kemner would be a solid GC rider if he dedicated his life to it.
But he has also proven when he's got the opportunities that he wasn't consistent enough to be it. But I guess we'll see again in the Giro because apparently he's like co-leader together with Vlasov, so that's gonna be fun. I feel like he might be more of a breakaway artist again with chances in third week to be a satellite rider, but I enjoy the idea of him trying at least for once. His time trial was decent as a younger rider. But anyway, let's go on to the next question. We could talk about breakaway artists for like 40 minutes, I bet. Which team will exceed our expectations in 2023? That's like a very difficult one to answer because we determine our expectations of a team dependent on the strength and the results that they can perform relative to their budget. So that's already kept in mind. But for example, Intermarché was a team that really punched above their weight in 2022. Who can be the new Intermarché in 2023? And I find it very difficult to say a World Tour team when I look at that. Or do we expect the DSM to come out of nowhere after our not super positive team preview to suddenly win 5 Tour de France stages?
I think Groupama. Don't you think they're building something nice? And they seem to have turned a real corner the last 2 years.
Yeah.
And maybe it's not this year and they need Pinot out and that money out, and then it's 2024 when Gregoire's not in his first year and Godou's got the keys, or Godou's already got the keys, but I think it could be FDJ. Maybe Demar wins a tour stage, Godou wins a tour stage, Gregoire is like much better in the Ardennes, and they're podiuming like 4 of the 5 monuments. It's possible. It could be FDJ who just take another step up, but do I see them winning monuments? That's the thing, like, because they're already at podium monuments. Movistar, I also think, are close to improving, but the Valverde thing's kind of weird. Like, has he
Yeah,
retired? Has he not retired? I know it's a meme, but it's also like, seriously, the half the team presentation was about Valverde, and like, I get it, on one of your long-standing riders, etc. But we just had La Ultima Bala. It's the team presentation for 2023. Like, Enric Mas should be on the stage first. It's about Enric Mas. It's about Ivan Garcia Cortina, Aaron Baru. And I don't know, if I was one of the other riders, I'd be like, didn't we
yeah,
just have a year of this? Like, what
yeah.
about us in the future?
True. I think I also want to mention about the pro teams. We've got UNOX, who is likely going to have a Tour de France wildcard. If that is the case, then Johannesson, I feel like, could actually win a stage. I feel like he's capable of doing that, but if he goes for GC, it might be difficult. If we look at Lotto Destiny, we know the league is still on that team. It's now a pro team, but the league can perform. They have announced the schedule. They're talking about Kuurne Brussel Kuurne, Roubaix, and so forth. What I haven't heard is Gent-Wevelgem. I feel like if he rides Gent-Wevelgem, he rode it in 2022, but got in Group 3, which was on roughly about 1 minute 20. I feel like Gent-Wevelgem and Kuurne and Brugge de Panne are the next steps for him, no?
Yeah, he has to do those ones. The sort of Merlier Jakobsen ones. Has to.
I
There's a
think
lot of
Lotto
points.
Destiny could overperform.
Or Arnaud Delis or Lotto Destiny?
Lotto Destiny, because I also feel like Kroon didn't do according to what he can achieve. We've seen better from Kroon than he performed in 2022. I feel like Ewan is likely going to return a tiny bit compared to what he was in
Yeah,
2022.
has to be
So
better.
every single rider that is on this team can do a bit better next year as well. Not every rider, but I feel like a Monique also might make a step forward. I don't expect much from their newly retired leadouts, but that's obvious, I feel like. But yeah, I'm going to say Lotto Destiny. Why not?
I think Archaea will be the opposite. I think people realize they're actually not very good. They scored a lot of points, but now they're in World Tour. They're actually like not that good a team, frankly, at World Tour level. Like the wins show that, and now they don't have Quintana, who was one of their best scorers for 3 years. So they're in for a tough season. I think I would say normally UAE, but that's where they're doing the schedule. Like there was a world where they could win all 3 Grand Tours, but I think that will be still possible. Ayuso, Vuelta, Pog Tour, who's Giro, don't know.
Almeida, come on, man.
True, Almeida Giro, long T. Yeah, I like Almeida on those 5,500 meters elevation stages.
Yeah,
So actually,
for a podium, but
yeah, I don't know exactly. It's not like Pog Tour sort of where like he's going to be favorite or second favorite or worst. Okay, who will be the breakout star of 2023? I think Gregoire. Hopefully they send him
oh
to, like, we're going to see him in Drome Classic and Fourn Ardèche in, what, 6 weeks?
yeah,
So I
oh
reckon
fuck, that's a good
immediately he'll
one.
be on.
I think that's a really good pick. He was really good when it
Alaphilippe,
comes to D23
friendship with
races.
Alaphilippe over.
Roman Gregoire is like next level now. I'm also gonna go for the youngsters because that's what the breakout star means. I think Legnisson is gonna make the step towards doing what he did in World Tour races, but I feel like he's already kind of breaking out. We can't say that he's now unknown still. For the
Is he
cycling fans like
SKA?
ourselves, nah. I feel like he's Foss, but not super GC. He's like between Foss and SKA.
Shouldn't he just lean into the SKA?
I don't think so. I don't think so. I think he can win significant amount of World Tour, like transitioning stages in Grand Tours, is what he should focus on now.
So he's Morich.
I think that's actually a relatively decent comparison. But except for the fact that I haven't seen him on cobbles, if I recall correctly, and so forth. But he's also not a god like Descender, most likely, compared to Mohoric. But next to him, Marco Brenner is a name I want to throw on the table. Was near a Vuelta stage win last year already. But let's be honest about it. Vine's considered a breakout star of 2022, despite already almost winning a Vuelta stage in 2021. After he got hit by a car, returned to the breakaway and almost beat Bardet still. So if Brenner didn't win, I can still call him a potential breakout star for 2023. I'm gonna go with Marco Brenner because I feel like he's on the brink.
I'll allow it. I'll allow it. Yeah, I'm going with Gregoire. That's kind of in keeping
No
with my
Uitebrooks?
ex-DJ. Pardon?
No Uitebrooks?
Nah, he's already like legit top 10 GC leader in the world. Like, what
Well,
is
people
there?
don't know it. Mainstream public doesn't really know it yet.
He should be their TDF co-leader. So yeah, okay. If you're allowed to do Brenner, then I'm doing Uitebrooks. Like,
They're
why
TDF
shouldn't he?
co-leader.
Why shouldn't he be though?
They've
Like,
got Hindley who just won the Giro.
okay, would you bet your life that he'll be consistent for 3 weeks at the
No,
tour?
but I would give him at least a chance after winning the Giro.
No. Of course, no. Hindley's leader. But you have like Uitebrooks just there. Why is he there?
Hang out.
Don't know.
Kind of like Buchmann in the Giro.
No. Buchmann in the Giro, man. Hindley, go and watch stage 14 again. When Carapaz attacks, Hindley's pulling the group back on the flat, and Buchmann doesn't pull. Hindley was incredible in that Giro, man. In the last couple of weeks. Anyway, Uitebrooks, but I like Gregoire because I feel like Uitebrooks is cheating. Okay. Do we ever get negative reactions from riders or teams that don't like what we've said? Yes, sometimes. Sometimes. 99% of the time, we don't get negative reactions. And
Yeah.
then when we do get maybe a negative reaction, it's more in a constructive way. Like a guy will hit me up on DM and be like, the reason we did X, Y, Z is because, this rider was a bit under the weather, or he had a niggling knee injury, or we wanted to achieve this. And then when you hear the inside information about it, you're like, okay, well, that makes a lot more sense as well a lot of the time. Sometimes, it's not all positive, but to be honest, we don't really get.
Any
But we
example
don't
of that?
yeah, right. No old Ryan Mullen, when he went 3 lanes to the left, and I was like, maybe you shouldn't do that. But like that's one thing in like 3 years of talking nonsense. So I think that's a pretty good ratio. It's not a daily thing. I think it's largely positive.
I think so as well. When it comes to the podcast, I don't remember getting too many negative things. I feel like I have had a few occasions, I think like 2 or 3, where a staff member of a team starts talking
Oh yeah, staff,
afterwards.
yeah.
Whether
Sorry,
it's
that's more
like
likely.
a press officer of a team that's like, "Oh, you shouldn't have said it like that. Come on, guys," or a press officer of a team that says, "Oh, you've given us actually quite a good podcast here. Here's a few things that you missed." Like that's the good thing. I like that. I like that feedback because then it shows that they value the content we make and that they want to help make it as best as possible. And that's the feedback that I love. But yeah, I don't really care if a press officer doesn't like our podcast unless it's constructive, which is a good thing. I will say, however, I feel like I get more criticism from my tweets sometimes from writers. As in,
Yeah,
if I throw a font on Twitter, you have to keep it in the characters, and I can't add more context. And I feel like sometimes the lack of context makes it so that a writer's like a bit like meh about it.
exactly. And like the comments as well. A lot of the time the comments on the podcast are not just people being like, agree. It's people being like, actually, I think he's going to do better this year. Actually, I think you're being too tough on that rider or that team, which is great. Like it's
Yeah.
supposed to be a place for discussion. But because it's like a podcast format, people can hear the tone, the sort of the context. Maybe I'm being a little bit tongue in cheek, which like I'm not 100% serious all the time. Otherwise, I'd
Wait,
go
what?
crazy. Yeah, because sometimes I fuck around. Like, but if you do that on Twitter, like people always remember when I did the Plap is better than Remco tweet, which kind of like I put my Australian hat on. I'm like I'm gonna like fuck around, and because like I was like yeah, go Plap. I want to push my boy. Like I want Plap to do well, and I want to big him up. Someone's got to do it for the Australians. And like people even still now like this guy said that Platt was like way better GC than Remco. I was like, all right. It's true. You can write that down. I stand by it. I actually do hope he has a better 2023. He could be a breakout star. Write him down on my previous answer. But yeah, it's good. And it props to Intermarché. You were mentioning like they engage with the podcast preview. People then see their YouTube channel. They see the team engaging with content they like. They're providing a bit of feedback to us as well about maybe things we didn't know. It's really, really great interaction. We do need to get it. You're blocked by Astana though, and we're both blocked by Vorders.
I'm still blocked by Astana. I'm also blocked by Vorders. So it's unfortunate. I feel
I'm
like
blocked
the
by
Astana
Remco on
thing,
Instagram.
I feel like at this point, people have forgotten how I got blocked from Astana. I was trying to get an interview with Aramburu.
Oh yeah, you were trying to interview one of their riders.
I asked the question to the press officer. I asked quite literally the following question: is his English decent enough? And the press officer was like, well, do you speak German, Chinese, and like some other language? And I was like, yes. And then I got blocked.
Well, maybe we'll get that. I don't think we'll get that cab exclusive, but we'll do the emergency pod. We've had the klaxons. I've had the siren. I've got the bell, the emergency podcast bell. I've just been holding it for a week. Like, when are they going to announce? Is it an emergency pod anymore?
Exactly. I asked an Astana rider the other day, like, how do you feel about Cavendish joining your team? And the response that I got was, wait, what? Cavendish is joining my team? Question mark, question mark, question mark. It's like, you could try and keep it a secret, but you can also try and overly keep it a secret to the point that...
Unreal.
But hey,
anyway,
I heard some rumors that we might hear it after Christmas, so let's see.
Oh yeah, people notably so proactive with things between Christmas and New Year's. That's like when everyone gets everything done. Dude, what? And the UCI announcing regs, yes. Why the fuck? Like 3 days before Christmas, had Tour de France 2024. I'm trying to have a holiday. Tour de France 2024 Grand Depart announcement on the Thursday before Christmas, and then the UCI rule changes. Like what? Christmas Eve? It's like I got Raul. I'm calling him up. Hey Raul, I don't tell your grandparents. Ain't gonna be no Christmas. I need an explainer article. Nah, I'm kidding, sort of.
To be fair, we're uploading like 7 podcasts as well.
Exactly, man. It's ridiculous. Anyway, why is cycling used so much for sports washing?
I think that the thing with cycling is that it's still considered a relatively niche sport, but the footprint it has is quite significant. It reaches so many people with the Tour de France and the biggest races and so on, the World Championships, the Olympics. So many people get to watch the bigger races. And if countries can get their name in those big races, or Ineos-like companies can get their name in those big races, they can do so for probably a significantly cheaper amount than the other sports that have sports washing. Like, let's take a look at football, for example, as in the one where you actually kick stuff with your feet. Well, to be fair, you do in both sports, in American and the normal football. But anyway, the soccer for the Americans, teams like Manchester City, Manchester United, like, we see major investments from like whatever Middle Eastern countries and so forth. And we notice as a consequence that it's significant amount of money compared to the money that's going towards, I don't know, the investment of UAE, for example, is significantly less still, right?
Oh, yeah. Orders of magnitude different. And you don't even get to put your name on the shirt. Well, you don't get to change the name on the team. Maybe you put a subsidiary company can be a shirt sponsor, but you can't rename the team.
Yeah, exactly. That's my point.
And another reason, which may be why we see it more in cycling, is that cycling is a very prestigious sport. Like we always say, it was always said for maybe the last 10 years, cycling's the new golf. You've heard that 1,000 times, right? But like,
I've never heard that.
It's not a Belgian thing because you guys have always been cycling. It's again Anglophone countries. People said that. You see it. The Tour de France is an extremely prestigious annual, internationally recognized event. Every year, it has cultural prestige. It is so for that reason, and for the cost of entry being literally like, say a team budget's 12 mil, on the low end of the spectrum, and you're a co-title sponsor for 6 mil, your names could be in the team's name at the Tour de France for 6 mil. That's much cheaper, one would think, than,
Yeah.
I don't know, other equivalents. And you see things like there's the Louvre Abu Dhabi. They're planning, I think, a Guggenheim Abu Dhabi. Like these cultural and sort of social, uh, not phenomena. I'm trying prestigious things are going to the Middle East, and so that the Tour de France is kind of in one way being exported there, or at least the marketing of kind of, it's not just Middle East. It's like a variety of things, and then it's very difficult and grey where you draw the line, like gambling companies or lottery companies or companies that loan money at maybe aggressive interest rates or all those things. Like when you actually go down the list, um, you know, it's hard to find like a nice charity two charities sponsoring a world tour team. Like that's sort of the nature of
Yeah.
sport. So I don't necessarily think, like, maybe there's a little bit more in cycling because of the reasons we discussed, but I don't necessarily think it's all that. I think it's a whole of sports thing that's just happening, like, and cycling's not immune from that as well. But anyway, how much do sponsors play a role in rider schedules? It depends. More or less. Signings definitely. More
Yeah.
probably. You see teams focusing on a certain nation, like that's obvious. Although Trek have one US rider, right?
That is true. But
Like that's
Segafredo's
weird.
Italian sponsor, I feel like they focus on Italians quite a bit, though. With Nibali back in the day,
Maybe.
with Ciccone as like one of their leaders. Then again, Juanpe, the patron, came in and he said, no sponsors anymore.
Go.
We don't do Italian and American. Now only my Spanish friends will arrive. And that's
Yep.
how Bristango got the ride. got the
And Danish
team.
riders. and
Yeah, yeah.
Scandinavian riders too. So not that they've been bad, they're best riders, Scandinavians.
Yeah.
But um yeah, it depends. Like some teams definitely focus on it. Of course, like AG2R and FTJ, like they're gonna have a certain quantity of French riders. For the tour, for the actual races, I don't know. I think it's a bit less. Um, but you heard Pog talking about he wanted to do the Giro in 2020, and they're like, you should do the tour. Now, is that sponsors or is that Machin and Gianetti being like, you're good enough to do the tour, you can win the tour, so we want you at the tour? I think it's more the latter. I don't think that's the sponsors as well. I think
Yeah.
often it's just the management, like, no, this is the best race, XYZ.
And I feel like Lefebvre is kind of the opposite, where I feel like the sponsors don't have much to say at all in
No.
Lefebvre's team in terms of the race schedule. Because while Merlier's signing is probably related to Quickstep being a West Flemish company, I had that story back in the day on the Quickstep pod, didn't I? Where a subsidiary of farmers, like a bunch of farmers, came together and they
Yeah.
they started it anyway.
And they gave birth to
The
Yves Lampard.
exactly that's like the sequel to it. But
Yeah.
anyway, I forgot what I was saying. Oh, Quickstep, if the sponsor had a lot to say there, then Remco was doing the Tour de France, then Cavendish did the Tour last year, etc., right?
Well, I don't know. In Benelux, is Cav much bigger than Jakobsen? He is, right? Even though Jakobsen's
Yeah,
Dutch.
yeah, yeah. In
Yeah,
Belgium for sure.
in Belgium. Okay, well, yes then, and Remco the Tour, yeah, would make sense. So it's probably not as much as we might think. At the margins, like if there's the 8th spot in a Tour de France team, you've got 7 non-French riders, you need an additional French rider or a rider of your nationality, and there's 2 riders of equivalent ability. Then, although FDJ didn't do that, they took out French Armorel for Canadian Duchenne. So, I don't know. Maybe it affects sort of things at the margins too. Okay, what are our thoughts on the rapid growth of the Women's World Tour calendar? Is it sustainable with all the stage races close together and in some cases now overlapping? I think it is getting to the point where it's exceeding, like it's going to be even more difficult for some of the women's teams and some of the men's teams. Like you already see Lotto turning down their Giro invitation because they want to focus on other simultaneous races, and the women's teams aren't really expanding in size that quickly. So, like, no, none of the teams have 30 riders. You look at
Yeah.
SD Works in 2023, 14 riders. Like 14 riders, if 2 or 3 are injured, or how are you going to have 2 simultaneous races they attend, other riders training, and 14 riders? Like, it's the numbers don't add up.
Exactly, and there's only a few teams that get to that 16 rider amount in their team. I think X is one of the only teams that gets to that 16 rider amount. But there's so many sides to this story where we're speaking about the teams catching up for now. We're speaking about the riders. We're speaking about the amount of races that they need to fill. Note though, they don't have to go to every single World Tour race. But on the opposite end, there's a relegation system in women's cycling now. So that relegation system basically says to the teams, well, you need to ride as much as possible. So they are benefiting the teams that do have more riders and more capability to ride more races in that sense. Or if teams are just much better at selecting races, they can circumvent that. But there's also the point that if you had so many World Tour races that the bigger teams need to go to, then you're putting pressure on these smaller races as well that survive from the fact that bigger riders come there as well. And if so many World Tour races are at that point, then those smaller races will have less sponsor interest and so forth to be, to actually exist, stuff like that. So that's another issue there. We also see the transition a bit from the fact that like 5 to 10 years ago in women's cycling, I feel like more cyclists were just good at everything. I feel like that's still the case with the likes of Van Vleuten and so forth. I think Roubaix is the one where she's kind of not able to really push through. But then we look at the riders that are now in the peloton, and we feel like I at least feel like there's more specialization in certain riders. Wiebes is fully a sprinter, for example, and we gradually see that changing as well in the peloton now as well. Also because the routes are adapting, and we see more extreme routes like actual proper mountain stages that we didn't see a few years ago. So that transition is also happening. I completely forgot what the point I was making was, but
I was more specialists. But then, I don't know. Tour of Norway, like, I like races like Tour of Norway, which, as you say, have like a proper mountaintop finish. But yeah, it's going to be tough for these teams financially to go to all these races. It's not just the riders. It's like, do they have enough? The buses, mechanics, soigneurs, they have to hire extra staff. It's not just hiring extra riders. For every extra rider, you got to hire X amount of of staff, chefs or whatever. So yeah,
yeah,
it's tough. But yeah, I hope the women's world tour doesn't sort of make the same mistakes as the men's world tour, which
yeah,
I think we both think is a little bit too heavy in the world
convoluted.
tour races. Yeah,
Yeah,
and confusing. Okay, on to some business stuff for me and Benji and LR
yes,
Media. Will we continue to work for Jumbo-Visma in 2023? Now, we told you we'd keep you updated on any changes. If we stopped working with a team or continued working or extended working with Jumbo-Visma. And as a reminder, this year, Benji and I provided video analysis, data, and strategy advice to Jumbo-Visma, primarily in relation to the Classics and Tour de France campaign. And this work had nothing to do with the pod, YouTube, etc. We had an objectivity clause in the agreement, which ensured we maintain total editorial control over our content. And this was a pretty successful partnership, I think. We both learned a lot, found it really rewarding, and it's helped the pods a lot, actually, sort of knowing firsthand how a team works. But now moving forward, Benji has decided to not continue to work for Jumbo, whereas I have for the next couple of years. We both have different reasons, which we'll explain now, and I'll run through. But Benji, like you say what's happening with you. What's up with you next year?
yeah. I'm afraid I'm leaving the ship when it comes to the freelance role I had also next to you for Jumbo Visma. And the reason is mainly that I want to I'm a content creator at heart. I like making content, whether it's putting more time into LRCP or making more content on my own channels, doing more media stuff in cycling in Belgium and so forth, or internationally. I'm open to all of that, but I want to do that instead of making videos and stuff like that, making stuff for a few people behind the scenes. I'd rather make it for a wider public because that's more rewarding for me personally. And that's basically the thing. You can always quote that as Benji decided to leave Jumbo Visma because he wanted to make Pro Cycling Manager videos, which I guess that kind of works because it will allow me to make more Pro Cycling Manager videos.
Yeah, maybe more fun managing a team in virtual world. Maybe, I don't know. Anyway, I've extended my agreement with Jumbo for 2 more years. So on the same basis, objectivity clauses, etc. So for 2023 and 2024, get the years right. Mainly because I extended on the same basis that I originally agreed to work for Jumbo-Visma alongside Benji, which was, believing that working for a team, particularly a top team like that, contesting for Grand Tour victories and monument victories, it gives a unique insight into how teams operate and, in turn, improves my knowledge base
I'm
and the
gonna miss you,
quality of
buddy.
content. Pardon?
I'm gonna miss you, buddy.
Mate, we got 200 pods to do with each other next year. You're gonna get very sick of me, I think. Yeah, scope of work under the extension is the same. All the sort of same stuff, just for 23 and 24, doing data strategy, all that good stuff. And on that point, you might be asking, well, what about your plans to become a cycling agent? You drove to Geneva during the Dauphiné. What a waste of time that was then, because I'm parking that. I'm not doing that for 2023 and 2024, obviously. So I've got the license, won't be representing any riders.
Mate,
Just got a piece of paper on the wall.
you've gone through the entire bloody struggle of driving to Geneva. I always say riding now because of a cycling podcast. Driving to Geneva in your car. You do your exam. You're pissed for like 7 hours in the car because you thought you weren't gonna make
10.
it. 10 hours in the car,
Yeah.
and what you get out of it is a piece of paper you won't use and an Instagram picture.
I've spent a couple of €1,000 probably.
Oh.
Yeah. Well, Instagram picture, pretty sick. So got to visit ECI headquarters. So nah, I think it lasts for like 4 years and then I can extend it. But so that won't be happening next year. And sort of what will be happening next year? Oh no, also related to this, would we consider being a DS for a team in the future?
Nah,
No?
I don't see myself doing that. I think I find I think it would be too stressful for me. Like, and next to that, I think people are underrating the role of a DS in terms of the human capabilities that you need. Because we base our opinions on data, on analysis, and so forth. I think there's a role of that, a significant role of that DSs now do. But there's also the factor that you need to interpret that information and be able to apply that to the individual rider. Each rider is different, and each rider will want that information differently. And I think a good DS is able to do that, and also is good with dealing with the group dynamic in a team, because one rider might not be happy with the opportunities of other riders. And I feel like you also need to be a person that can listen to the complaints of riders and try and make the best of it with the riders. No?
Yeah, exactly. That's an important skill, which, like, I don't have. Like,
That's for sure.
I don't have. Like, so, yeah. I just couldn't sit in the car. I physically couldn't do it. I physically just could not sit in the car for 3 weeks straight, 6 hours a day. Just couldn't do it. So, like, much respect to the DSs that do it. It's like a
Yeah.
hard job. It's not that glamorous, to be honest. Like, it's a lot of stress. It's a lot of trying to take a pee break. Like, it's hard.
On the Chivilio descent.
Yeah, maybe.
What was that? Adi Engels?
I think so. On the Giro. With Roglic, the bike change. But yeah, it's tough. It's a tough job, and I'd maybe the sort of management in the future, like sort of where Brailsford sits, but it's a big jump up from podcaster to that. So I'm probably selling myself a little bit short there. But
is it promotion or demotion? This is like where you can get arrogant as fuck, eh?
It's just like a lot of admin, people management. Like, these are big organizations, some of the big teams. Like, you're thinking, everyone just thinks about, oh, well, how do you're going to manage the riders and strategy and stuff, which is what we sort of currently did advice for at Jumbo. That's like that's the fun bit. What about, like, you got an HR problem with a soigneur or something, or you need a new headquarters, or there's not enough
Yeah,
inventory of X, or one
or
of the
Søren
sponsors is
Anderson
being really
says that
difficult.
or Søren Anderson says that his saddle needs to go up on his salad.
Well, no, then you tell them to get fucked. That's what the
You
teams
fit
do,
right
right?
in at DSM.
Yeah. Oh yeah. You tell them, sorry, sir, and I don't care. Someone 6 months ago said that this was right. Alrighty. So the answer is on the DS, no for both of us for now. Well, and I don't see that changing for me. I have a sponsor? Will LRCP ever sponsor a cycling team? Maybe one. Like I was thinking Androni, but they folded, right? So
No, no, no,
I
no,
don't.
no, 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 no.
They didn't.
Savio is back as the manager of GW Shimano, and then a second sponsor. I don't know if it's Drone Hopper or something related to that. He's now in Conti with his team, and he brought some of the Colombians that were in the team, some of the Italians that were in the team, and he got quite a few good Colombian juniors in there. So the team's actually not shit.
How much will it cost? Do you reckon for like just one PNG LRCP on the sleeve? 5K?
Well, is it useful to
Oh no, of
promote it
course
in
not.
Colombian races?
Of course not. It's funny. So that's what I mean. I would never do it seriously, like a proper one. Only as like a meme. If we could make some content about it.
Yeah,
Um,
and I think one of the controversial takes I have around that is that I'm starting to realize, or I'm not sure if I'm correct in it, but I'm starting to assume that the media around cycling is sometimes worth more investing it as a sponsor than teams on screen itself.
well, yeah, you can during a Tour de France broadcast, you can be a title sponsor of a team. Maybe they're good. Maybe they do something. I'm sure Jumbo and Visma are probably pretty happy with how the Tour de France played out as sponsors. Maybe they don't. Maybe the star rider's injured and you don't really have much screen time. But if you just buy an ad slot during the Tour de France, you're going to show your ad. Well, maybe they click off the ad, but that's why they've integrated ads a bit now. But you know what I mean? You can guarantee a certain percentage of people are going to see your brand and it's going to be an actual ad. So maybe there is more value there. Like, yeah, that's why we see a sponsor carousel, because a lot of the media activations by the teams whilst they're doing, like, the teams just have press officers, right?
Yeah.
They're not like content creators.
Some teams do have like a content team, or at least like one guy that works on content. That's usually the social media manager that has to do everything, I'd
Okay.
argue there. But
They have too
there's
much
not
on their
really
plates.
exactly. I think they get third party content teams in to make stuff for them. And I think that's also an issue. I feel like content, like, also, I think Velon, the brand, could also do a lot more with the content that they have.
Yeah, there's so much opportunities to like reuse footage, and particularly like all this amateur cycling stuff on Instagram reels like goes viral or whatever, but the Crows are doing like way crazier stuff every day. So I think Movistar, I think the guy's a contractor who's running their Sin Cadena YouTube series, which has been quite successful, showing their training camps, getting decent views. Um, I think he's a contractor though, so as you say, they're not like hiring full time like content creators, etc. And it's kind of being outsourced. It's Netflix pay them a fee, and then etc. Anyway, that's just the evergreen issue of marketing and sponsorship in cycling. What are the goals for LRCP in 2023? More of the same. We'll just keep trying to provide the best analysis of pro cycling in your airwaves or on long form YouTube. It's not changing. We might be a little bit more selective on some of the races next year, with of course the core races being all covered as usual, just to keep us sane. Maybe a tour after the season finishes, a season review live tour in some certain countries, as well as some merch dropping next year. So a few things in the pipeline. What would you like us to do, Benji?
I feel like it's just what we do now is pretty great, but I feel like there's so many small things we can still change to make it a tiny bit better. And whether that's equipment wise or whether that's actually visible for you guys, well, we'll try and make it visible. Otherwise, it's not a big change, is it? But I feel like there's also opportunities like doing potentially watch alongs together and so forth. I like that idea. Try and create more buzz during races and during events that are going on when it comes to cycling together. I feel like we can make more content together if we are together more. So to get together a few times per season somehow to make more content us too, that would also, I think, increase the dynamic a bit. And I don't know, I feel like we're far from perfect still, but that doesn't mean we're doing shit. We're far from perfect still in the sense that there's always space for improvement. And I'd like to see that improvement gradually happen. And I feel like we've improved gradually throughout the years as well. We started off without bloody cameras. Let's remember that for a
Yeah,
second.
yeah.
Not even 2 years ago, we had no camera. I literally didn't sleep for 3 days before we had our first camera thing because I was scared of what the people would think about me on camera, unironically, which is actually pretty crazy to think about.
Well, that's the thing. You're sort of touching on that is when you've just started something, it's a lot easier to take risks. And also like we want to up the level of the podcast, right? But there's a trap on digital media is that you think upping production necessarily means content actually becomes more interesting. It's not the case. Now, when we improved our microphones, if you compare to before, that makes a difference because that affects audience retention because the audio is better. So in the aggregate, it will improve retention. Will us going to races and incurring that expense and maybe hiring people to be full time, setting up technical people, will that improve the content enough?
I don't
Will
know.
that actually, the travel and everything, stress us out so much? Or me out, I'm not speaking with Benji, stress me out so much, and you're managing so many different things that you're too tired to be funny or entertaining or informative. Do you grow? Is the pod growing so much that you then worry, oh, I can't say that because people actually listen now, and I can't make a joke about X, Y, Z, because that rider, I know they'll hear it. Going back to the earlier question,
Yeah.
it's much more likely now a rider's going to hear it if you say something critical. So you got to really try and avoid those traps and not think about that. But still, as Benji said, you still want to improve. So like us being together in person, I think in a studio-esque space is better. In an Airbnb, maybe not. So Giro, I don't think we'll go to the Giro this year. It starts in Italy. But maybe the Basque Country start. It's near me, and Barcelona is really near me, and the airport right there. Benji can get to easily. Barcelona might be the option because also I know Barcelona. I know hotels that would be good options. It's all things like that thinking about. But as Benny said, I think being in a studio-esque space might be the best option rather than attending races or grand tours all the time. But yeah, any other thoughts?
I know the podcast is getting quite long already, but we've got a few more questions. But I want to throw in one of mine as well. Well, I've got two of mine actually. First, I want to ask, like, what's your aim with your own channel? As in, what's the next step there?
I want it to be so I've obviously got like multiple trying to succeed on multiple verticals. So like the website's written, that's been really successful, but currently not profitable or close.
Great programmer, eh? What can I say?
Yeah, well, yeah, exactly. Like that, that was a really good setup though. WordPress for actually for someone like me, it's really good. I think it looks pretty clean, just quietly. So props to Benji. If you want to, anyone want a full time program? You want to
No,
go?
you're
You're
trying to get
saying you
rid
want to
of me.
get back in that game, Benji?
No, no,
If you're
no,
going
no,
to
no.
be design websites. Yeah, website, podcast, LR YouTube channel. Um, hired Luke and going to have more content on Instagram because like Instagram engagement is really high, but I just don't post. And it's also the balance of like, do I want to just churn racing content on there, or are people more interested in sort of what I'm doing, like the agent photo? Is it a mix of those two that people want? It's hard to know because it's not 100% of either. Some people want X, some people want Y. It's growing up all those three and maybe some other things too. And I think if you combine all the watch time across all those platforms, I think it was the biggest like pro cycling media in 2022. If you don't, which is a big if you don't include GCN plus live races, which obviously the
Yeah.
watch time on that will be more. But if you like cycling news, much bigger website. But when you combine pod numbers, it's bigger. So it's hard to succeed across all three, and that's what I'm trying to do. Like we're trying to put on the watts per kilo full database in interactive, nice fashion on the page on the website, things like that. But yeah, what do you think I should do, Benji?
What do I think you should do? I don't know. I think you're doing pretty great, and I feel like you're often the kind of guy that takes a lot on his plate. As in, you're the kind of person that goes to the store on an empty stomach, and you take everything home, and then you realize, well, fuck, I can only do so much in 24 hours. But you still managed to do more than I would see other people able to do with the stuff you brought home from the store. So I admire you in what you're doing, and I'd say keep it up and keep that flowing. For me, it's kind of like, for me, it's also similar in that sense. I also feel like I've got a lot going on. And I feel like sometimes I have to make choices. Like LRCP has been my priority, stays my priority. That's always going to be the case here. But like, I feel like on my own channel in 2022, I uploaded 88 videos compared to in 2021, I uploaded 178, which I don't know how I did that. I'm pretty sure I had no life. And in 2023, I'd like to get around 100 videos, or even if it's 50, that's fine, but quality over quantity. And that's kind of the changes that I want to do on my non LRCP content, stuff like that. But yeah, that's my take there.
I think we've both been running it like it's good to be lean and like keep costs low so then you can grow slowly, and say you don't get an advertiser or you don't get X, then it's not fatal. Like
Yeah.
of course, like for the first 6 months of the pod, like wasn't worth it directly. Of course it was in the long run, but for the
Yeah.
first 6 months, like if you look at our hourly rate and average it out, like it's not good.
Yeah.
But you can't be like that forever, of course. Like it's not sustainable. Adults bills, and then it's then good to be lean in like the next 18 months. But then if you want to grow it and also do make it sustainable, like Benji and I can't keep doing, as Benji said, can't do Jumbo-Visma consultancy work, pods 225 plus a year. Benji's like tweeting them out and running LRCP Twitter, and then he's got his own personal YouTube channel. I've got and it's just us. And my wife does pod editing, puts together like some show notes, all the uploading, titling, thumbnailing, all that, which has been a big help. And like that needed to happen. Otherwise, like we wouldn't have been able to do it. But then if we want to grow, got to get more people on board without just hiring a bunch of people, for whatever reason. But yeah, it's a small team. It's been good. The website contributors, Raul, Ozzo, Gabrielle, and Luhrmann's doing the drawings. That's all been great as well. But
And
I'm
now
sure I'm
look.
missing somebody. And now Luke's coming on board in January. And there's a lot of things he'll be doing. So I hope he's had a good holiday. I think cycling. But yeah, I'm excited for the future. I think it's really bright. And I think I'm happy with where we are. I'm keen to see how Benji goes with his, particularly his IRL cycling content. I think that's a nice pivot on his YouTube channel, actually.
Yeah, that brings us to one of the next questions. What are your personal cycling goals for 2023? For me, it's kind of simple. I lost 20 kgs in 2022, and I'd like to lose 10 kgs more. And next to that, I'd like to become a not so shit cyclist because I'm now still a shit cyclist. And one of the things I'll do is that I've already recorded significant part of the process of me doing my training, me doing FTP test, ramp test, and so forth. And that should come out as videos in the coming year on my own channel. So it's kind of like a contentless cycling goals thing for me. For you, it's more an individual cycling goals thing, right?
Um, yeah, it is. It is. You're right. I just want to be fitter. I've been since I come back to the Gold Coast. It's been great. I've been running a lot, cycling, keeping trying to be 10 hours plus active exercise per week. I think if I go over 10 hours a week and I eat like just okay, I don't need to eat like a monk. If I just eat okay and do that, better things happen. But yeah, 2021 was tough. No, not 2020, 2021 was tough. I put on so much weight during the pandemic. And so now I'm just, you put it on the weight quick and then shifting it off takes a little bit longer, particularly as I was kind of still active at the time. So it's not like I'm whacking my body with a huge amount of exercise change. Anyway, speaking of moving and exercise, how do I like living in Andorra? People ask. I really like it. Like, safe for business, it's fine. Like, no, not fine. It's good. People complain sometimes, oh, there's red tape. It's like, there's red tape everywhere. Like, come to Australia. Like, you want to get a liquor license in Australia? Like, I was speaking to a guy down the street, he just wanted to start serving alcohol in the afternoons at his cafe. And like, the amount of red tape is insane that he has to go through. And that's very different to maybe Europe. So, I think Andorra's good. It's like, it's not a party town or party
Mhm.
country. If you want to go party every night, Barcelona is probably better for you in that sense. But if you want to work hard, you have a digital media business, um, be safe. Cost of living is not actually that bad. Um,
Yeah.
for all the benefits it has, particularly like Australia, as an Australian again, you see the cost of living in Sydney, Melbourne, and Brisbane. Like, it's really expensive here. So, um, I really like it. Spanish is getting much better. That's one of my personal goals for next year, is to go from like can speak, can hold a conversation fine with the bus driver
Wait,
to
wait,
like
wait, wait.
fluent
You
level.
speak to the bus driver?
See, people were a lot friendlier in Spain and Andorra. So on the on the bus to the airport from Andorra, people talk to you. And I know it's free. It's literally like a free language session, because like the problem is people overestimate your ability to speak Spanish sometimes, because like I'll go through the first few things okay, and then I'll be like, just if you speak a little bit slower, I will get 90% instead of 70%. But then there's boom, 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 because maybe they're not as used to speaking to moderate ability Spanish speakers. But that's good. I think that people are really accommodating with it, which is maybe have a different experience in other countries in Europe. Like, people are just happy you're trying. And then Catalan as well. I've got to learn that, but Spanish first, because for business as well, I want to be able to go on maybe Alcola del Peloton next year. I want to get my Spanish to ability to actually appear on that podcast.
Yeah.
That would be kind of funny. Maybe not funny. It's not supposed to be humorous. It'd be interesting. And then Catalan's got to come. But like, Catalan already people to speak to me in it anyway, and I sort of get it. But
By the
yeah,
way,
it's Andorra's good.
talking about Andorra, how the hell is your horse doing?
Well, he's not in Andorra. He's in Willumbar. Yeah.
Oh.
There's been no updates from me, which means it's not been going too well. He's out for a spell for a month, I think. He'll come back stronger. Nah, he's fine. It's just for fun. It's not like, um,
You're
it's not.
like that meme that's like, it's just for fun, and then like you've got a mask, a happy mask in front of your crying face.
Yeah, it's definitely not just for fun. I'm definitely like, we need to optimize this race calendar. I send like the syndicate owner, like, I'm like,
The
listen,
jockey, the jockey with like an arrow helmet, the specialized arrow helmet.
no, for real. I was like, listen, right. Drafting and race mechanics is not well understood in this sport. Now, you might have seen on Twitter that somewhat controversially, I advised Jumbo-Visma on some things in 2022. I can help you. The sport's basically the same. It's people going about 60 kilometers an hour and like 58 kilo guys. on top of a machine. So it's the same sport. Yeah. But so far they've not really taken my advice on board. I think they think I'm a lunatic. But anyway, he'll come back. It'll be fun. It is fun. Do you have any passions outside of cycling or hobbies outside of cycling, Benji? Bit of a loaded question. Is this all you guys do? Kind of.
Kind of, yeah. Cycling's my life at this point. Scrolling through Twitter. No. I had at least a 1 week long hobby of trying to get decent at chess, and I'd say I got very decent until some pro rider decided to slap me in chess, which was Nathan van Hooijdonk, which I blame the fact that I just came out of the pool and my finger slipped, moving my queen into a position where I just got sniped. But that is the ongoing rumor. There's also potential cheating allegations on like Magnus Carlsen, Hans Niemann vibes between us. So I don't know.
Wait, you put something up your butt?
Heat it to win.
Okay, damn. Who's signaling him? Is this online?
Wait. So wait. So I'm leaving Jumbo-Visma. You're staying. Are you the one signaling Nathan van Hooijdonk in my chess matches?
Probably, yeah. I would like him to beat you in chess. Yeah.
Damn it.
If I was signaling him, you would have won.
Podcast.
I can't play chess. So, yeah, it can't.
I mean, neither. I just pretend to.
Yeah. All right. And anything else? I guess cycling, like we kind of have a distinction between like covering pro cycling and then us personally cycling. They're not the same thing to me. Like when I go out on a bike ride or something, it's just completely different. So to me, that is still a break from cycling.
For me, it's kind of, my issue is that I've said it before. I'm a content creator at heart, and everything I do, I'm like thinking, how can I make content about? And that's a very unhealthy lifestyle, I know, but that's one of the reasons that I'm also making the cycling content, because that will motivate me to do my personal cycling better and to do that kind of stuff. So my line between hobby and work is not really there sometimes. I know that's an unhealthy lifestyle and I don't know how to fix it.
Oh, well, if it works, it works. You had a pretty successful 2022, if I say so myself. So
if it works, it works. Burn out under a bridge.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, true. I just watch like trash on YouTube. I like to, when I'm relaxing, I go to like the lowest impact content and just let it massage over my brain. So like I'll watch Uncle Roger food reviews on YouTube, doing egg fried rice reviews of Jamie Oliver. I'll watch like Theo Von and Caleb Presley, and I'm just like, this is just dribble, and it's just my mind gets massaged to sleep.
For me, I've always had like TV shows as like the escape, but I feel like at this point I've seen like the good TV shows, and I'm like, it has to be a good one for me to watch it again. When it comes to YouTube, I'm like hardcore into. I'm a big Ludwig fan, great content creator. But next to that, also Coffeezilla. I feel like his content's amazing. One of the best YouTubers out there at the moment, investigator in like scams and so forth, and actually like properly reveals fraudsters for what they are. Because I feel like in the last 2 years, we've seen a lot of like content creators and influencers abuse their audience to gain financial gain, and I find that appalling, and I love when they get caught for it. So that's why I love watching Coffeezilla videos these days. Anyway, that became pretty dark suddenly.
Well, that's the thing. I can't watch any of that because I'm already at a 10, like at intensity. Just walking through life, I'm already at just like a 10 permanently, highly strung. Like last night I saw Roglic Giro thing, and then opened up again. You know, got all the profiles, and I sat there for an hour just clicking through profile. I had them all downloaded in a row, and I'm just imagining how the stages sequenced together. I'm looking at the gradient on a 0.5. I've got the San Bernardino climb is 35 Ks. I put it at 0.5 Ks on the Flamme Rouge website, and so it doesn't even fit on the thing. I'm looking like, where's the steep parts? It's like, what is that? What are you doing? What's the point of this? Anyway, it is helpful to know the route. But I need to relax, so I just find like low it. I'll watch like the stupidest content, or NFL, other sports, and then that's sort of I'm mainly enjoying it, but also saying, okay, what are media doing here? Well, how are they doing a podcast in the really big sports as well? And I love cricket, so I'm happy to be back for the summer of cricket. Just a big sports fan, really. But yeah, that's our hobbies outside of cycling. Maybe cycling is just passion, hobby, and work. Couldn't be better. But they were all the questions that we had time to answer today. We hope you all have a safe Christmas and holiday period. Have some time to rest because Tour Down Under is coming, and you better get yourself ready for the season that's about to kick off. We got what? Women's World Tour starts at TDU in like 3 weeks or less. And once it starts, it never ends. Like it's going to be 10 months straight. So get yourself ready, prepare yourself, maybe watch some old races and look through the rosters because we'll be coming hard in 2023. We haven't lost our enthusiasm. In fact, more enthusiastic than ever. I can't wait to see just all the storylines next year. There's so many storylines that will unfold every year, and I love covering the races just as much as when we started. And I think Benji feels the same way, even though we're doing more things. So yeah, I'm excited.
I think it's also important to give a major thank you for the support in the last year to every single one of you that support us, that watch our content, that interacts with us on Twitter, on Instagram, on the YouTube comments section, and so forth. We read most of the comments that we get, and it's really awesome that we've got such a community behind us, and that we can keep on doing this, that we're able to do this. So fortunate that we're able to do this and do it in our way, that we're not limited by anything really. So I love doing this, and it's mainly thanks to everybody watching and thanks to Zwift that I can afford to do this.
Without the audience, it wouldn't be possible. I know it sounds cliche, but it wouldn't. Like we would have to do other things if there wasn't enough of you so fervently supporting the podcast and everything else that we do.
You'd
And
still be a lawyer.
God forbid,
No,
yeah.
you'd be a solo YouTuber then.
Who knows? But yeah, the support is great. I also like we read everything. I read every comment and just love the support and even just the you know seeing all the people who listen to every podcast, or even if you don't listen to every podcast, it's fantastic to see how much entertainment it provides, and even seeing that in real life. Like that's happened a bit more this year. It's been I love it when people come and say, "Hey, are you LR from XYZ?" I love it in person too. And hopefully we get more of that
Are you
next
Patrick
year, and maybe at
Lefevre?
TDU too. Did he come up to you?
Nah, I'm asking you. Are you Patrick Lefevre? Is that what the people ask you?
Like, jeez, that'd be a bit. Are you a man 50 years older than you? Like, who refuses to send around? No, I'm not, because I'd send around and go to the tour. So no, that's why I'm not Patrick Lefevre. I'd let him do Valenciana at his house instead of San Juan. But yeah, thanks as well to Zwift. We couldn't have a more supportive partner who just want our content to succeed. They just want the pod to do well. They support the pod. And as well, I think they're a great positive move and force for cycling, supporting the Tour de France Femmes avec Zwift inaugural edition on a multi-year deal, supporting women's cycling, then getting Paris-Roubaix Femmes avec Zwift, having an active platform to stay on top of your weight loss. This isn't a plug, but seriously, for me as well, like I use the platform Zwift, particularly when I was back in Andorra, when it was, to stay on top of those fitness goals. That was really important for me mentally to keep that continuity. And so they've been a fantastic partner too.
I've lost 20 kgs with the focus on mainly not eating shit and riding Zwift on a 6 to 7 day basis. So I'm a running advertisement at this point.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So thanks to you guys and girls. Thanks to Zwift. It's been a fantastic year. We can't wait to do it all again next year. Until then, ciao.